Welcome to the Virtual College Exploration for all West Virginia students, sponsored by the West Virginia Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admission Officers and StriveScan. Thank you for joining us. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. This is just one of the many different sessions happening, so be sure to check out the full schedule at WVACRAO.org. This presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week at the same website, WVACRAO.org. Now I'd like to turn it over to our presenters.
All right.
Hello. Before I begin the presentation, I'd like to encourage you to submit questions. If you submit a question during the presentation, we will address your question after the PowerPoint has ended. First-time freshman versus transfer student. Transfer credit is a term used by colleges and universities for granting credit to a student for courses taken at the collegiate level. How to know if you're a first-time freshman or a transfer student, and how to apply. If you've received college credit while being a high school student, or take a college credit or CLEP test in the summer after graduating high school, you are a first-time freshman. It's all in the timing of when you graduate high school. So if you graduate this coming May, June 2021 and take a college course or CLEP test the summer before beginning your enrollment in August, you're a first-time freshman. Or if you receive dual enrollment credit while being a high school student, you're a first-time freshman. Or perhaps you wait to begin college and you have dual credit or other credit, anything after the summer of your high school graduation, and you've not attended any college or university, you're a first-time freshman. Now, to receive transfer credit for any of these, you must submit official documentation. If you apply as a first-time freshman and you're actually a transfer student, the college or university you've applied to will evaluate your application through the Student Clearinghouse and/or National Department of Education to make certain which status you are. AP versus dual enrollment credit. Dual enrollment credit is calculated in your overall GPA as it appears on a college transcript. However, some colleges and universities only accept transfer credit of a C or higher. Others use all grades. It depends on the college or university's policies. Ask the institution you plan to attend about their policies in regard to transfer credit. AP or CLEP scores are given credit with passing, nothing to calculate in the overall college GPA. Students grow concerned about AP scores if they take it in their senior year, as the score is not readily available until July. And typically the month of August is when the fall semester begins. Your class schedules are typically made before July, and students wonder why they are listed in a class that they have passed through AP or CLEP or dual credit. Not until the official documentation is received will a student get credit for coursework. Once the documentation is received, the schedule is then updated. It's a normal process all colleges and universities see every year. As long as you send official documentation, colleges and universities have a system in place to update your schedule. Typical admission documentation required for first-time freshmen. Students are often admitted before high school graduation based on ACT and SAT test scores and their high school transcript at the time it was submitted. After graduation, updated high school transcripts are required for your student record and financial aid purposes. Because of COVID-19, most schools have elected to not require the ACT or SAT test for admission purposes only. Financial aid for merit institutional scholarships tests are required. Again, you should ask about policies in regard to admission and financial aid. FAFSA is not based on ACT or SAT scores. This is just referring to institutional scholarships. Housing and meal plan requirements may differ by student type. On-campus or off-campus living depends on the institution you plan to attend. Some require a student to live on campus their first year or perhaps longer. Each institution has their own policies. Just remember to ask. Some institutions do not allow cars their first year of school, while others do. It's just important to ask. Now, a transfer student is a student who attends a college as a first-time freshman, then decides to transfer to another school, will apply as a transfer student. If this same student withdrew from the school and didn't withdraw before the deadline date, they are considered a transfer student. Again, policies may differ from institution to institution, so it is important to ask. If a student is awarded financial aid and/or doesn't withdraw before the deadline period for withdrawing, the student will have an official transcript with grades of W. If the student applies to another college, they will be considered a transfer student, regardless if they have earned hours or not. A W will show on the college transcript if the student doesn't drop or officially withdraw before the deadline date. Typical admission documents for transfer students: official college transcripts from all colleges attended, and if AP and CLEP were taken, these must be submitted as well to receive the credit. Students don't realize sometimes to receive credit when they transfer to another school, they must submit all documents again. It depends upon the policies of the institution, which determines which documents are required. Normally, if you have earned 24 hours of college credit or more, you will apply as a transfer student and submit official college transcripts. If less than 24 hours earned, you will still apply as a transfer student and still be required to submit official college transcripts, as well as official high school transcripts and ACT, SAT test scores. Again, it depends on the institution. Acceptance of college credit depends on the institution's academic policies, and the institution determines what is accepted as transfer credit. Ask about the policies for living on campus versus living off campus for transfer students, or having a car on campus. Again, the policies differ from institution to institution. Now, sometimes students get confused about transient and transfer. However, a transient student is a student who has taken classes on the collegiate level and perhaps may go home for the summer, because college students love to plan ahead. Some consider taking college courses during the summer at another institution to build GPA or hope to finish their degree quicker. If a student takes courses at another institution while still considered a student at their home college, they're considered transient. They must fill out a transient form from their home institution to guarantee the credit will transfer. It's likened to a contract between the student and their home institution. Policies for transfer differ from institution to institution. If requiring financial aid, know the policy for transient. I've stressed the importance to know policy from the institution you plan to attend. It's best to rely heavily on your admission transfer counselor. They will send information letting you know what is required, that they are also experts and can answer your questions about policy of their institution. If they don't know, they'll put you in contact with someone who does. It's just important to let them guide you and mentor you through the admissions process. In saying that, keep communication open. If your email or phone number changes, remember to let your admission and transfer counselor know. During the admission process, email, texting, and phone calls are the main communication. So if they change, let the college or university know to update your application and record. Also check your junk mail for emails. If you received an email in your junk mail, fix it so that it goes to your inbox. But it's good practice to check your junk mail before deleting. I will now hand the presentation over to Rhonda.
Rhonda, you're muted, my friend.
I apologize for that. I knew I was going to do that, and I tried so hard to remember not to do that. So again, I apologize. What I'd like to talk to you about today is the different types of college credits that you can receive when entering college upon graduation from high school, and also what the terminology of these things mean if you're not familiar with them. Sometimes there's a lot of terminology tossed around, and we assume that students know what this means, but a lot of times they don't. So we kind of want to clarify some of those things for you as well. So the credits that I'm talking about is AP credit, IB credit, dual enrollment credit, and CLEP credit. So we'll kind of go through those one at a time just to clarify what they are, what they mean, and how you could possibly get college credit. So AP credit is advanced placement credit, which I'm sure you probably are familiar with. And the other one, IB credit, which is International Baccalaureate. That's what the IB stands for. So the main difference between the two, just to kind of sum up the difference, is that the AP program is American based and the IB course credit is international based. AP, I would have to say, is more popular and more useful for an American high school student. And the other point about that is that all colleges may not accept IB credit. So that's another big difference between the two. For more information on both of those programs, you could go to collegeboard.org, and they have a great website that lays out a lot of information about those two programs. Now, some important facts about AP credit is that students taking advanced placement classes in high school, I know I've talked to students before, and they were under the understanding that as long as they were taking the advanced placement class, they were going to get college credit for those classes. So many times what I've had to explain to students when they've called the university is you have to take the AP, the advanced placement exam, in order to get college credit. And along with that, you do need to score a 3 or higher in order to get that college credit. And you must have the score report sent to the college or university where you are planning to enroll. And another thing is you must let that college or university know that you want your AP credit added to your academic record. Some colleges will automatically add that to your academic record, but not all colleges do that. So just sending it to them may not be enough. So you'll definitely want to contact that college or university and say, I've sent you my advanced placement credit and I would like that credit applied to my academic record. Now, one thing to also keep in mind is that there is not a letter grade that is given as a result of a successful score on the AP exam. It will be recorded as credit only, which is still a very good thing because that's one less class that you'll have to take. But there is no effect on your overall grade point average because they're not giving you a letter grade. They're simply giving you the hours of credit and the fact that you have taken that course, or you're getting credit for that course, I should say. So another term that you may hear is dual enrollment credit. And what dual enrollment is, it's really a unique opportunity for high school students to take college classes while earning their high school diplomas. So in other words, not only are you still in high school and you're still taking those college or those high school classes, but you're also taking credits to either through a community college or some other university or college while you're in high school. Students are typically enrolled in both their high school and a nearby community college or other post-secondary institution where they take college classes. Some high schools actually offer college level classes to be taken right at the high school. But no matter how it's offered, the cost is usually very minimal. So if you have the opportunity to do that, we highly recommend that you do that. Now, some important facts to know about that is you must have an official transcript sent from that college or university where the credit was earned through. And you need to have that sent to the college you're planning on attending after your high school graduation. Having it appear on your high school transcript is typically not sufficient. Some high schools will do that. A lot of them do not do that, but regardless, any college or university that you attend upon graduation from high school, they're going to need the official college transcript from that college or university. So keep that in mind. Now, if you've earned college credit from more than one college or university, then you will need to have an official transcript sent from each of those. Even if it appears on one transcript, an official transcript has to come directly from each of the institutions where you've earned college credit through. Another important fact that you want to keep in mind that the letter grade that you earn on that dual credit or on that college credit, it does get calculated into your overall grade point average at the college or university that you ultimately attend. I know I've talked to students before and their thought process was that, yes, I took these classes and I want to get credit. However, the grade I got was not what I wanted it to be. So I don't want that grade calculated into my grade point average at, the school that I'm attending, but it does not work that way. It will get calculated into your overall grade point average. So you want to do your best work possible if you are taking those dual enrollment or college credit classes. Now, the other college credit that I want to talk to you about is CLEP credit. And CLEP stands for College Level Examination Program. And it is also sponsored through College Board. So you can get information about this type of college credit as well through collegeboard.org. CLEP offers 34 different exams that cover intro-level college course material. With a passing score on one CLEP exam, you could earn 3 or more college credits, depending on what the exam is that you've taken. And CLEP was actually created to help individuals with prior knowledge in a college course subject earn their degree efficiently and inexpensively. Because if you have some prior knowledge on a particular subject area and you feel strongly enough about that and you want to take an exam to show that you have that knowledge, and if you pass that exam, you could get college credit based on a successful completion of that exam. And that is typically a way to earn college credit inexpensively. More than 2,900 US colleges and universities grant credit for CLEP. But you should definitely check with the college or university that you are attending to find out what their policy is on accepting CLEP credit. And really, as Andrea mentioned before me, most of the things that we're talking about today, you should check out with the individual college or university that you plan on attending, because the policies of each individual institution vary slightly. So you definitely want to make sure you know what the policy is at a particular college or university. Some key CLEP facts: students take CLEP exams on a computer at an official CLEP test center. CLEP exams contain multiple choice questions. CLEP exams take about 90 to 120 minutes to complete, and that depends on the exam subject. CLEP exams are offered year-round at more than 2,000 CLEP test centers across the country. And students receive their CLEP exam scores immediately after completing the exam, except for the only exception to that is college composition and Spanish with writing. Those take a little bit longer, but other CLEP exams that you take typically are scored immediately. And again, you could get more information on CLEP credit at collegeboard.org. And I am now going to turn the next section of this presentation over to Taylor Richmond.
All right. Thank you, Rhonda. And thank you, Andrea. Both of my well-esteemed transfer expert friends have done a great job of walking us through some of the vernacular and definitions that are important to know when deciding some of these important things about what to take and when in your college career. But we got a nice cup of coffee in the background there to indicate this is a transition point. This is a coffee break into, I think, what's really the big elephant sometimes in the room for students is, where do I start my college career at? And you have a lot of options, not only in the state of West Virginia, but all around. And the panel and presentations you've probably been attending have seen some great options and opportunities. But I think there is an important decision to be made when selecting a 2-year or a 4-year institution. And we want to go into that a little bit more in depth, because while each institution might tell you all the great things to know about applying and attending them, there is some nuances to know between them that we can cover today. So Ron, if you go to the next slide. There are 3 really important things I think that need to be considered when choosing your college choice, and whether to start at a 2-year or 4-year institutions. And I've put them in order, I think, by the importance that each should have. The first is really your academic opportunities and options, and what you want to do with your college career and your career down the road. And secondly, obviously, finances will then play a major part in your decision about where and how long it'll take to get to that degree or to get to that career. But you should also finally keep in mind the fit and the opportunities that come and play at the various campuses and institutions. So in that order, we'll go through more in depth, but keep those 3 things in mind when you're making that decision. So the first thing that you need to really think about, and I know it's hard at the age of 17, 18, myself at 31, what you're going to do with the rest of your life. I'm constantly asking myself what that's going to be. So it's going to be probably really hard to narrow down. I want to be a teacher, a nurse, a lawyer, a doctor, an artist. That's probably kind of hard to do right now. So definitely. But one of the things we definitely would recommend, I think, if you asked any higher ed professional, is at least start off with an idea of a pathway or a realm to go into. You might not know that you want to be a nurse or a doctor, but you want to do something in healthcare. And the folks on your college campuses, either 2-year or 4-year, can give you options in those various fields and start you on that path. Because it's easy to choose or make a transition between, like I said, nurse and doctor in those first couple of years, because you take a lot of those same courses, but it's a lot harder to go from engineering to business or art to medicine. So at least try to frame your decision around what you want to or what field you want to be in. And if you're having any concerns or questioning, you're not really sure, there are plenty of opportunities, aptitude tests, and things, resources that are available to you online through your guidance counselor, through some of our institutions, to help you narrow down what field and what path you want to go in. Once you kind of have that decided, then those tests and those experts in the industry will help to tell you or show you that what you can do with either a 2-year or 4-year degree. Maybe you want to be a nurse, but you want to specialize and be an LPN or an RN. You can generally do that with just a 2-year degree. Maybe you want to be more specialized and be a nurse anesthetist. That takes a 4-year degree and some training on top of that. So depending on where you want to be in your industry, you can make that decision based on whether you need a 2-year degree as an associate's or a 4-year degree or beyond in baccalaureate, master's, or professional degrees. If you decide on something that does require a 4-year degree, you still have the option and the opportunity to start at a 2-year. Just because you need a Bachelor of Science doesn't mean you have to choose a 4-year institution to get that to start with. a lot of schools, like the ones represented here today, have partnerships with two-year institutions that allow students to start and complete the majority, if not all, the first 2-year requirements at our two-year partners, and then transfer to us and complete the remainder of their 4 years on our campuses. So definitely, again, as been reiterated, and I'll do it again, it's important to contact and reach out and ask the questions of the institutions you want to get your ultimate degree from. If you're looking to get your 4-year degree from Concord, contact Concord and ask if they have partnerships with two-year schools in the area to start off at. Now, these are generally called articulation agreements, or there are some institutions may have what they call drafted plans of study that show you your path to those 4-year degrees. So you can sometimes search for those things, or they'll be provided to you, but also ask about what happens when you follow those agreements. Some institutions, if you complete an Associate of Arts or Associate of Science at a 2-year school and you transfer to a 4-year school, will waive your gen ed requirements. So maybe you did a unique gen ed experience at your 2-year school and then transferred to the 4-year. You might not have checked all the gen ed boxes off in those 2 years for your 4-year institution, but because you have that associate's degree, they will do that for you. You also have the opportunity to just knocking off some first-year requirements and also getting a head start on some prerequisite math or other courses that are in your field. For example, if you look at an engineering program at WVU or most institutions, the recommended plan of study starts you off in calculus your first semester. I wasn't ready for calculus my first semester of college, and not many people are. So if you're in that same boat, it may be a good option to start your first year, or maybe 2 years, working up to calculus at a 2-year school. Or as Rhonda and Anna talked about, perhaps you can do that through dual enrollment or in that summer before your first year freshman semester. But also keep in mind that you have a lot of opportunities that aren't pigeonholed or exclusive just to either 2 or 4 years. Sometimes they work very closely together. All right, Rhonda, if you go to the next slide. So obviously, choosing the major that is best fit for your, and the major and degree that is best fit for your career goals is important, but obviously finances have a big impact as well. And one of the greatest qualities I think that the 2-year schools like to promote is their cost of their attendance, and the tuition is generally a fraction, sometimes as much as a third of the cost, if not a half of the cost for credit. And you can really save a good bit of money by starting off on 2 years at their institution. Additionally, most 2-year institutions that you'll start off on are close enough that you can drive to campus and avoid that housing cost that a lot of the 4 years require in a residential manner. So coupling the reduced cost of tuition and not having a housing cost, you could save a good bit of money by starting off at a 2-year institution. But what's important to know here is that by starting off at a 2-year institution and becoming a transfer student, as Andrea described, may have some implications in terms of what scholarships you're eligible for at the 4-year institution when you do transfer. Generally speaking, 4-year institutions offer less money in scholarships to transfer students than what they would award as a first-time freshman. So you may be a stellar high school student with a 4.0 or higher GPA, and you've already got great ACT or SAT scores, and you're eligible for those top-notch first-time freshman scholarships. And while those provide you a lot of money to attend these 4-year institutions, you might be doing the initial math to say, I still would save more money by starting off my first 2 years at a 2-year institution down the street from me. However, if you do that, then you're only going to be eligible when you do transfer to the 4-year institution for that lower tier level transfer scholarship. So make sure you're keeping that in mind. And again, contact the institution to understand what their scholarship structure looks like comparative between your first-time freshmen and transfer students. Some institutions allow you to remain eligible for those freshman scholarships, even as a transfer student, if you apply and are admitted to that school as a rising freshman. So although you may not plan to start there, just by being admitted may grandfather you into those scholarships, and as a unique opportunity to consider, but will be dependent upon your chosen institution. But the other thing to consider, depending on your degree plan or your chosen major, sometimes starting out a 2-year might not be academically advantageous for you. I will pick on WVU since I'm both an alum and an employee of WVU. We have some very specialized, fantastic programs, one of which is actually nationally known as our forensic science program. But I can tell you, starting at a 2-year institution with the goal of being a forensic scientist from WVU is not going to work in a 4-year time frame. And the reason for this is their curriculum is so structured and tiered, meaning that the courses that you must take your freshman year in that program are built upon in their sequencing semesters. And because you don't find those courses at the 2-year institutions, you'll never really check any boxes off for that program except for the gen eds and some of the STEM courses until you get to WVU after your first 2 years. So you'll still have 4 years of forensic science to go on top of your 2-year education. So what you did to save some money on the front end in terms of tuition and housing still might cost more, or if not the same, because you now have full 6 years to get a 4-year degree. So it's very important to ask the questions about what courses are required for your intended major and what courses that you can take for that major at your nearby 2-year institution. All right, Rhonda, next slide, please. And then finally, it's important to keep in mind what we call fit and the opportunities on the campus. A lot of times, I'm a former admission counselor. You talk to admission counselors, they'll tell you that you really need to consider how well you fit on campus or how well the campus fits you. A lot of folks I know are very hesitant to go to big 4-year institutions like WVU because of the size may be intimidating. And that's why they'll look at 2-year schools, because they provide smaller, more intimate classes instead of some of those larger lecture hall classes that you might see on movies or when you tour a bigger campus. So you might be able to knock out some of those freshman levels in a small, intimate class. And not only is it a smaller class size may be more comfortable for you, less intimidating, but you also have a more direct interaction with your professor and faculty that way. Institutions will always talk about their student faculty ratio and brag about how low that is. You're not going to find it much more lower than in some of your 2-year institutions. Additionally, as I kind of said earlier, the 2 years provide that more affordable option for tuition revenue, but also they have a more supportive routes through the math and English, or students who might struggle or not be adequately prepared to start off in some of that freshman level math for certain majors. So because they're more used to preparing students to make that jump into a 4-year institution, they have more support options and opportunities for you if maybe you're not as strong in those areas or certain areas, depending on the things that they have. And then finally, as Andrea was talking about, most 2 years, if not all 2 years, do not have a residential requirement to live on campus. So if there's something that you're not comfortable with or don't want to do for whatever reason, starting at the 2-year institution and earning enough credits to be a transfer student, and then going to a 4-year institution can help you to forego that requirement to live on campus once you transfer. And it might be close enough, like I said, just to drive to. On the flip side of that, the 4-year institutions do offer some opportunities and things that a lot of the 2 years do not. So in terms of just a more varied option in terms of majors and career paths, because of their 4-year nature or their baccalaureate nature, they might also offer some more unique courses in terms of electives and minors or other things to explore in your academic timeline that a 2-year school with a smaller faculty size might not have. Additionally, extracurricular outside of the classroom opportunities are going to be greater or more abundant at a 4-year campus. So we're talking about things like study abroad, student organizations, Greek life, club sports, things along those lines are going to be more abundant at 4-year schools. As well as some folks really do look forward to that living on campus and the dorm experience as a way to meet new people and other options and opportunities that they provide to get you out and be able to meet folks from not only around your state, but possibly around the world, as 4-year schools generally derive students from a larger reach. So you have the opportunity to consider the what you're looking for in an institution and for the 4 or however many years you will be there as an opportunity to expand your horizons, and you'll have a little bit more opportunity to do that at a 4-year campus. But consider what you are looking for in your college experience and which 2-year or 4-year institution may provide that best. So again, most importantly, you're going to want to look at your academic options and what you need to get the degree and career you want. Obviously, paying for it is very important, and that's going to weigh in a decision, but also do keep in mind the experience you're going to have as well, because students who enjoy their experience throughout college excel and perform better. And I'll turn it over to, well, I don't see any questions in our questions and answers. So we have our final slide here that has our contact information. If you have any questions that you want to ask any of us directly, obviously you see that we represent three four-year institutions from around the state, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have if you want to reach out to us directly. And we're more than welcome to do that. I do want to bring up one topic that we didn't discuss, since we're waiting on some questions to come in, but I think is very important. I'll ask Andrea and Rhonda to weigh in on, since we have a little bit of time. We talked about transferring of credits and what institutions accept and don't accept, or how they do that. And I think what's important to keep in mind is sometimes the institution that you attend, such as a trade school or things along those nature, the classes you take there, the experiences you take there may not be transferable to a 2-year or 4-year institution. So I know Andrea said it is important to ask the institution that you plan to transfer to, but that is something that we can definitely discuss briefly, because I know WVU, being a research institution, we are probably, I will say, the most restrictive on courses that are accepted, whereas some of the 2-year schools will be more liberal in the courses that they accept or experiences they award credit for.
Yeah, and I could give you just a basic example that we've run into before at West Liberty. Generally speaking, we do accept most credits from the 2-year institutions. We have partnerships with some of these 2-year institutions. And we also, I know Taylor and Andrea and myself, representing 3 different 4-year institutions, we've run into students who have transferred from a 4-year to a 4-year. And either way, we work, all of our institutions work very hard in being able to accept as many credits as we can. But just like one example that I could give you, we work closely with West Virginia Northern Community College. We have a partnership with them. We accept credits from there. However, they have a culinary arts program. We do not have a culinary arts program or anything that really matches up with that at all. So if a student is kind of changing gears and they're transferring from that program into West Liberty University, a lot of those culinary arts classes will not transfer to West Liberty. Now, maybe some general studies classes they may have taken, like English and math and history and those type of classes, those will transfer in. However, some of the real specific culinary arts classes, since we do not have any course equivalencies, those kind of classes would not transfer to West Liberty. So it's always important to check with the college or university that you plan on going to ultimately to finish your bachelor's degree, just to see if there's certain programs that won't transfer credits in from. So that's just kind of one kind of obvious example that I could think of. And I don't know if you have anything to add, Andrea.
I was going to say, if a student here at Concord, if a student receives financial aid to attend somewhere, and they still require financial aid, let's say they're going to transfer to Concord, and they might have a transcript, like you said, that has culinary classes, and Concord doesn't, we would still require an official transcript because they received federal aid. And it's just the policy because you've received federal aid. So sometimes the credit is not going to transfer, but we still need it just for the purposes for financial aid purposes, and that's the federal government. Another thing too is perhaps a credit won't transfer, but it'll transfer in as an elective. And an elective is not necessarily in your desired major, but there's certain electives that you do have to take. So sometimes you think, oh, that's not going to transfer. But after an academic advisor in your field studies and looks to see what you have, there's certain electives that are used that you wouldn't think might not be.
Yeah, those are excellent points. Thank you for making those points, Andrea. Those are very good points.
Yeah, and I'll just add on to that. One of the examples, Rhonda mentioned culinary arts. For us, really, our standard generally is anything that's overly trade or technical based. So we have the Morgantown Beauty School down the road as an example. You get a great degree there. I pay my barber way too much money sometimes, I think. So there's definitely an opportunity to earn a great living in that trade. But the courses and classes that they take there would not transfer to WVU. And the reason for that is depending on the institution that you go to, or sometimes it may be the program within that institution. They have specialized accreditation that they keep and restricts them or prevents them from accepting certain types of credit. So we talk about those trade technicals as a more general sense, but I will talk about our business school. As Rhonda mentioned, the culinary one, we have a partnership with Pierpont where you can transfer from their culinary arts into our business program. So as a 2+2 model, the issue that we have is because our business college has a specialized AACSB accreditation, they can award credit for their junior and senior level courses from a 2-year institution. And that's not just against Pierpont, that's against any 2-year school. And that's a standard that's pretty common with that accreditation. So you're looking at any 4-year institution that holds that. So although a student might take a principles of marketing course, a 200 level principles of marketing course from Pierpont, that course does not transfer in as our 300 level principles of marketing course within the business school. And we do, as Andrea said, we do accept that course. We do transfer it in. It can be used for some other programs, and it does count as credit. And to Andrea's point, a lot of 4-year degrees in our Everly College of Arts and Sciences have sometimes 20 to 30 plus hours of elective rooms. And that's really to encourage our students to explore double majoring, getting a minor, things along those lines. But it's also a great, I'll say, a safety net in a way for students who, transition or change their mind or transfer into something completely new, and they don't lose, or and I'll put it in quotes, lose credit, because they'll still be on your record, but they're not applied to that new program. You still need 120 hours for most 4-year degrees to graduate. And only about 70 to 100 or so are major specific. So you have some room for those courses that aren't directly equivalent, as we say, or a one-to-one match to kind of fall into, to push you towards the finish line of that bachelor's degree, but maybe not check off any boxes in your major program. And if I could, go ahead.
I was going to say too, it's sometimes you don't think about a minor, but especially if you're transferring in from a 2-year school and you've received your associates, when you come in, like Taylor was saying, there's certain classes that you have to take. And especially if you require financial aid, they're not going to let you take classes that you don't need going towards your degree. So you might think about a minor. And that way it takes the stress off, especially if you're going into the natural sciences, because all you're going to be taking are natural science classes because you took all your gen eds at the 2-year. So at least picking up a minor, that's going to help relieve some things, because especially, like I said, in natural sciences, and to be full-time, that's a lot on a student, especially even building on that into your senior year. Whereas if you have a minor, that can alleviate some of the pressure from your major so that you're taking different classes.
Yeah, and if I could, Andrea, that's a great point. And what I'll say is a lot of times our academic advisors look at to help our transfer students if they have a couple courses that may not be degree applicable towards their 4-year degree, that would fall into the elective category. They may be halfway done with a minor. If you have Psych 101, Intro to Psych, and maybe developmental or abnormal or social psychology from the 2-year school, you're halfway or 2/5 of the way, I guess, towards the 15 hours required for a minor. So you just have a couple upper division psych courses to knock off, and now you have a psych minor, even though maybe you're going towards a bachelor's degree in business. So I see our facilitator has come back on. I know we've got just a few minutes, and I had one other light bulb that I want to talk about that I didn't think about when we were planning this. We didn't talk about military credit. And I think this is something, because WVU is, for example, is changing and I think improving how we handle military experiences. But I'll allow Andrea and Rhonda to speak how they do it at their institutions. Prior to, we'll say, this upcoming spring when things are really going to shift gears, but our SOP at WVU has been award a block of credit for basically getting through basic training and going on. And that was really kind of where it ended, unless you're going towards like a regent's degree or something along those lines. We're actually opening up a process where students can petition to have certain experiences be equivalent to certain courses or added on as this elective credit that may just help a student propel them towards 120 degrees. So it's not really transfer credit per se, but it's an experience that can award credit that you can use towards your either 2-year or 4-year degree. That might not, be kind of in that realm of thinking when you're preparing for college. So I would be interested to see what Concord and West Liberty do and how they help military credit.
We actually have a person who just deals in military credit because we get, I don't want to say audited, but people come on campus to make sure that we're doing it right because it is federal. And they make sure that if they have like phys ed class that they have to take for their gen eds, the military credit will take care of that. They don't want to double pay. So the military is definitely on it to make sure that we have those transcripts and that their GI bills or their children, their dependents are taken care of as well.
Yeah, and I'll just go ahead and end by saying we are pretty similar to what Andrea just said. We have a person specifically assigned to dealing with military credit, so we automatically put students in touch with that person. I appreciate our facilitator letting us make those last minute comments. I know she is on here to kind of cut us off now, but I'm glad Taylor brought that up.
Thank you.
All right, great job, everyone. We just have a few housekeeping things here at the end that I want to discuss with you. If I can get to the right screen. Oh no. Okay, here we go. All right, so thank you, presenters, and thank you for joining us. When you close this window, there will be a link to a very quick 4-question survey. We'd appreciate any feedback you can provide. Also, this was just one of many sessions being hosted, so be sure to sign up for additional sessions at WVACRAO.org. In about a week, you'll be able to find the sessions recording as well as all the other sessions recordings at WVACRAO.org. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.